in years. And it's also a really important moment for Bradley Beal and John Wall. Bradley Beal's a $100 million player. John Wall's a max player. He's going to be a $100 million player. John Wall's a multi-time All-Star. John Wall wants to be recognized as one of the great players in this league. You got to deliver in this game, Terry. And they have not been great in this series when it's been needed. They probably should be up 3-2 here. They gave up a huge lead in Game 2 in Boston. They should be playing for closeout here. But because they didn't handle their business, now their backs are against the wall. And Bradley Beal has not been great in this series either. He was 0-5 on threes the other night in Boston. He's been okay. His stats look okay, but he has not been the type of player that they're paying $100 million to.
It's interesting because earlier in the show I was talking to Ryan Russillo, and I said the narrative on Harden this entire regular season, and including in the post as well, changed. We started to see a different player. That last game went, and it darkened, diminished, if you will, what we've been saying, all these great things. Not saying that he didn't have a great regular season. So if they lose, and I'm referring to Wall and Beal here, what would that say about them as star players?
Yeah, it's like a barrier. They've got to say, hey, listen, we're either elite players or we're not. And maybe we don't have the answer. I think John Wall is an elite player. I think he's one of the best 8 to 10 players in the league.
Second best player in the Eastern Conference?
I mean, I don't necessarily think that. I think that's Giannis in Milwaukee.
Oh, really?
But
okay.
He could have an argument with me.
Okay.
But the problem is you got to deliver in these moments. This is when your reputations are set. And, frankly, the Wizards have been so bad in this series on the road that it's hard to know exactly what you're going to get from them. They've been 17 points worse on the road than they have been at home defensively in this series. That is an unacceptable situation. And so John Wall's got to be the leader there. John Wall wants, trust me, I know John Wall. I've talked to him about this. He wants what so many of his peers have. He wants this respect. And he really, in a lot of ways, deserves it. But he's got to show it tonight. And in a lot of ways, this is a great opportunity for John Wall. These next 3 days, he has a chance to pull off something that could define this era of his career. But if they lose tonight, no matter what happens, he's going to be looked at as a guy who can't carry his team to a higher level. And the other problem, Kerry, is even though the Wizards are the number 4 seed and the Celtics are the number 1 seed, a lot of people in the league believe that the Wizards have more talent and would see the Wizards not being able to at least force Game 7 as a failure.
Okay, so what adjustments, so that it's not considered a failure if they don't make it to Game 7, what adjustments do they need to make tonight?
Their defense has been so erratic. They actually have been a good defensive team at times this year. But the problem is they've been focused so much on slowing down Isaiah Thomas, they've let the other players get loose. But honestly, I don't think they're going to change that strategy. Isaiah has scored under 20 points 3 games in a row, which is a pretty good accomplishment. They've won 2 of those 3 games. So I think their goal will be to say, you know what, we're going to try to play the same way, force the ball out of Isaiah's hands, and hope that in this game they can get out to Avery Bradley a little bit more. They can, affect Al Horford a little bit more. But they don't want Isaiah Thomas to beat them. After he scored 53 points in Game 2, they're like, look,
that won't happen.
If we're going to go down, it's not going to go down by letting this guy score 50.
Okay, but back to what you said. Let me just rewind for a second. You said they need to erratic defense. They played good, and that's because they are doubling, tripling Isaiah. Is this an indictment on Scott Brooks if he can't make the adjustment where, they hold Isaiah to however many points, but they go back to playing the defense that they need to play in order to extend it to a game 7? I think
Scott's done a good job with his adjustments in this series. What I think the issue with the Wizards is the way they came out in Boston the other night. A vitally important game, 2-2 Game 5 on the road. It's kind of like the Rockets last night. How can you possibly explain the way the Rockets played in the first quarter last night in an elimination game at home? That is what the issue is. And if your team isn't motivated, sometimes that goes on the coach. But at this point in the season, the coach really can't be obligated to tell the players they've got to play hard in a Game 5 in a 2-2 series. And the Wizards didn't the other night, and that was very odd. And I don't know how to explain it. I guess it just happens in the NBA sometimes. Obviously, these guys work all year long and are paid huge amounts of money to do this, but sometimes it happens. And the other night, the Wizards did not come out with the mindset that game was important, which is so strange.
Talk about things that are hard to explain, things that you can't predict. You talk about that game. Let's move on to James Harden.
What's up, folks? We just wanted to show you that I missed the original, very brief introduction to that, where it was just Kerry Champion introducing Brian Windhorst and announcing the series. But everything I recorded there was all they were talking about for this series and the game tonight between the Celtics and the Wizards. And as you can see, just not any respect for the Boston Celtics. For whatever reason, and I was saying this yesterday in a post in a fan group, it's just been a narrative-driven league. It's not, it is a star-driven league in some sense. Yes, I get it. But it is a narrative-driven league. And for whatever reason, it's been this narrative that the Washington Wizards are the better team, the best chance to dethrone the Cavaliers over the Boston Celtics. And why? Because Washington went on a good stretch in the regular season. But the fact is, the Celtics still went on a better stretch for the rest of the regular season than the Washington Wizards did. Through 25 games, the Celtics were 13-12. The Washington Wizards were 11-14. The Celtics finished 53-29. The Washington Wizards finished 49-33. So from 13-12 to 53-29, that's 40-17, which really isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. People want to say, "Oh, where's number one seed? This, that, and the other thing." Fine, but yet they still got it, and they still played better than the Washington Wizards. I find it fascinating how people want to just downgrade what the Celtics did in comparison to what the Wizards did, when yet it was still better than the Wizards. Okay, so they're the worst number one seed. Let's even grant that they're the worst number one seed. They still did better than the Washington Wizards, who went, 38-19 down the stretch. It's like, whoa, the Wizards are more talented. I just don't get it, and I have no idea, why it's like this. What the big issue is, that people seem to want to have the Wizards play the Cavaliers. Okay, it is what it is. I'm hoping the Celtics eliminate them tonight, but we'll have to see. But that's just proof positive. Again, that was all they discussed about this series on the thing. Whatever I missed at the beginning was simply just the introductions to what they were going to talk about and who everyone was. So that was on this ESPN that comes on at noon. So just wanted to give you that. Again, I told you I won't be here early on for the game tonight, but I should catch at least the fourth quarter of the Celtics-Wizards tonight. When that goes fine, I'll be sure to check out for the recap of that. Thank you all so much. We'll see you later.